Call the meeting back to order. And I have a motion moved by Bev Cutting, seconded by Carol Lawrence. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby returns to open session of Council at 10:03 a.m. Any questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. And Mark, only those matters that there was two matters we went into closed session. Those were the only two that were discussed. We can have the minutes see that. I don't believe there's any matters arising from closed session. Very good. Then we're on to public meetings. We have none. We do have a couple of delegations this morning, but that'll come up later. Consent agenda. Excuse me, I have a motion. Can you take that, edit that out for me, Adam? I have a motion moved by Doug Hutchison and seconded by Rob Thompson. Be it resolved that items A1 to A3 inclusive contained in Part 1 consent agenda be adopted as printed, and further that authorization be given for actions to be taken as may be necessary to give effect to the recommendations contained therein. Is there any comments on the consent? Well, I was going to say, Carol, in the Newstead, and I think it was the December minutes of the Newstead, the draft minutes there, that the delegation was given to the committee. The way the minutes are written up, the delegation was. You can tell New Year's Eve was great for me, wasn't it?
Because they wanted to delegate to somebody else today?
The minutes, the way they were written up, the delegation was given before the meeting was called to order. And I think it's just the way that they're written. Carol?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Well, that we can amend that at our next meeting just to that it reads properly. I'm sorry, I didn't pick up on that one.
No, very good. They're draft, so we're just receiving them as draft though, back there. Just a point taken. Anything else on the consent? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay, Mark, you can hand out those for action to be taken. And I'll sign the minutes. That brings us down to communications from Mayor and Council. And I just wondered whether there was anyone from Council have any communications that they want to share with us this morning. Deputy Mayor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was happy to be at the New Year's Day levy at the Durham Legion, along with yourself, Mr. Mayor. You brought greetings, but more than anything else, just wanted to highlight the Legion members. President Bruce Atkinson made it quite clear and was very happy with the fact that they put the new roof on the Legion. And after many years of soul searching as to what kind they were going to put on, it is done, completed project. It was done under budget, and they did not have to mortgage any part of the building, so the Legion is in very good financial shape.
Yes, that was great. Carol, Councillor Lawrence.
I just wanted to say I have been distributing with help from others on the Save Rockwood Committee the posters for the public meeting, and that is the list that are out there.
Don't show it to me. Show it.
Okay, there it is. And there was no one refused. Everyone was happy to have them, aware of the meeting and the concern, and actually asked for more. And I am, with help, getting them out to Ellenwood, Eaton, and Newstead, so that they're distributed throughout.
Okay. Anything else? Anyone else have any? Just one thing for two things out there for the audience. First was former Mayor of Durham, Councillor Lawrence, and my sympathies to Councillor Thompson, who Floyd, more known as Slug Lawrence, former Mayor of Durham from, was I right, 86 to 94, Rob? And Rob's uncle passed away this past week, and the service was yesterday at the Legion. A lot of history gone with Mr. Lawrence. Carol, a relation of yours as well too, but well, yeah, shares the same last name. Anyways, Slug has passed away as I said, one of the former mayors of Durham. The other thing that will be noted by any of the audience out there from the camera is that we have an empty seat here this morning. As of December 31st, Councillor Marshall, Don has resigned from council, and we will be accepting his resignation letter later in the or do you want to do that now, Mark? Probably would be, if council will allow me to deviate slightly from the agenda. It is in Mark's report, and wondered if at this time, just to make it clear that there is a motion to accept Councillor Marshall's resignation from council. We will get into how we're going to replace Councillor Marshall and the options in Mark's report, but to have clarity, and Mark, if you can pass that resolution out, I'll have somebody, a member of council, to move and second that motion. So I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson and seconded by John A. Bell, whereas Councillor Don B. Marshall submitted a letter of resignation from his position of councillor for the Municipality of West Grey in accordance with Section 261 of the Municipal Act 2001 SO 2001 C25 as amended. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby accepts, with regrets, the resignation of Councillor Don B. Marshall, and further that the office of Councillor Don B. Marshall is hereby declared as vacant in accordance with Section 262(1) of the Municipal Act 2001 SO 2001 C25 as amended. Any comments, questions on the motion? Councillor Lawrence. Carol?
Mr. Mayor, I think you should read his letter, perhaps.
I think Mark's got it here too for me.
Here.
Yeah, there it is. And I think that certainly, thank you, Councillor Lawrence, would be appropriate. December 30th, 2016, Larry Adams, CAO, Municipality of West Grey. It is with deep regret that as of December 31st, 2016, I, Don B. Marshall, resign my position as Councillor of West Grey. After 242 regular council meetings and hundreds of committee meetings, there is no way, in good conscience, that I can follow council's direction any longer. For the sake of the residents of West Grey, I hope I am wrong and council is right, but I do believe I can defend my thoughts and beliefs with statistics and the preachings of Emil and the overall world situation. Sincerely, signed, Don B. Marshall. The only thing I would say is that when you've been around, I've been around for a fairly long time, and this is the first time that I've had one of these since I've been on council, and it doesn't happen often, but it does happen where individuals' direction changes and they can't feel. So, as we say in the motion, it's with regrets that we accept Mr. Marshall's resignation. Any other comments? At this time, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Very good. And we hope, as I've said, further in the meeting, in Mark's report, we will be looking to the options that are available to council to fill that position. And for everybody out there that is watching and for everybody that's here this morning, I hope that the new year came in very happily and prosperous for everybody, and looking that the winter weather will prophesize that we're at least halfway through winter already. It has been a little blustery at times out there. Okay. Anything else? Doug? Councillor Hutchison?
Maybe I'll just mention that being that we're into the year 2017, hopefully looking forward to an interesting year, being it's our 150th celebration of Canada, and there's lots of activities going on around West Grey and also all across Canada. So take those in and stay tuned, and it should be an exciting year, I think. Lots of unique opportunities to get involved in a number of things. So looking forward to that.
Good, thanks, Doug. Councillor Lawrence, Carol.
I drew council's attention to this last time, but I would ask Doug that you would keep in mind that it's the town of Durham's 175th birthday since founding. 1842 it was founded, May the 1st, so it would be nice to have some kind of mention or recognition of that throughout the celebrations.
Some people have mentioned that to me, and I would hope that anybody wants to jump on board and take a leadership role in promoting that. That would be great. But we have the 150th taking part, and yeah, we'll definitely recognize that. But right now there aren't any special activities organized that I know of. But if somebody wants to come forward and do something, that would be great.
Well, I'm speaking even of just recognition of the fact. Yeah.
Including, there seems to be a lot of that going on. There's a number of municipalities out there in the same type of thing. I think it's Bruce County's at 160 years. Theirs is 150, thank you, Adam, and so they're celebrating, but there is somebody out there that's 160, and I thought it was in Bruce, but anyway.
I guess Durham was here before most.
And still here. Okay. All right, thank you, Council, and that everybody got over the holiday season in good spirits. Well, the way I'm speaking this morning, apparently I'm still in spirits. At this point in time, we're down to delegations. We're just about on time for our agenda. And the first delegation we have this morning, Mr. Timmins. Bill, you're with us. And
my wife was going to be spokesperson for us today.
You're going to delegate that off to Joanne? Very good. I'll turn it over to you. Mrs. Timmins, do you? Joanne? Showing respect. Can you use the podium because we're on video there? And press the talk button. Yep.
When I talk?
You're talking.
When I speak? I'm live? Okay.
Yeah, you're live now.
Perfect.
Joanne?
Thank you very much, Council, for allowing us some time this morning to speak about the Glenelg Community Hall. The committee, made up of Bill and Joanne Timmins, Ben and Gloria Morris, Michael Burke and David Beard, are very keen and very committed to keep our little hall open and useful and active. We want to inform the council of our plans for the hall, which is located on Baptist Church Road at the corner of Concession 4. The hall rentals for 2015, we had 8, which we saw as very good. In 2016, not as many, only 3 that I could find on my calendar. I believe there were 2 more, but I couldn't find them. We already have 2 rentals for 2017 for January and for February. That's unusual to have them first thing in the year. I see that as hopeful. We have really been promoting it at our potlucks. We hold a community potluck once or twice a year, and that includes the people probably within a 5-mile radius around where I live. We have had up to 75 people attend. The past one in November, we had 40 people. We decided to take the opportunity at that meeting to ask the people present if they are willing and committed like we are to keep the hall open and to use the hall. And they were very enthusiastic, very excited. We did some brainstorming, came up with some wonderful ideas, which we're about to put into action. Some of our ideas were an improv group, a book exchange, a jam night, cards and board game night, a larder exchange, courses for learning, fundraisers to support future hall changes, a dance, and a November 11 potluck and remembrance to commemorate what is out in the front entrance of the hall, which is a World War I beautiful monument. I don't know if you're aware of it. It is a gorgeous monument. It's just enclosed. It's not sitting outside that the public can take note. We plan to begin our first function of more usage, February 18 or 19, to fall in with Family Day celebration. We want to explore having a celebration of the memorial, as I said. This is the 100th year of Vimy Ridge. We want to remember the sacrifice of our veterans who fought at Vimy, Somme, and Ypres and made it possible for all of us to be here to celebrate the 150 years of Canada. We're going to try to contact as many surviving family members of the people represented on that monument and hopefully invite them, if they are able or close enough, to come to something that we're going to put together surrounding November 11. We thought up an excellent resource person that we can call to help us with this endeavor. Gloria Morris, one of our members, has put the picture of our beautiful little hall on Facebook to help advertise, and Instagram is soon to follow. We would like to see information about all of our halls in West Grey that are for rent in the newsletter that comes out with our tax notices and or on the West Grey website. We have been requested to remove all the dishes, cutlery, glassware, pots, and pans from the hall at this present time so that anyone who rents it does not consider cooking and using the water. It's simply because the water is not drinkable because it's not used enough. We're hoping that in the future we'll have a workable kitchen again and that council will take that into strong consideration. But at this moment, we have done as requested. Everything has been removed to another location. Our committee wants to work with council to promote our beautiful hall, continue using it, and to make future improvements to that hall. We have a few ideas of things, not to make it, beautiful and up to date and modern, but sensible, down-to-earth improvements that need to happen, and we want to see happen. And I thank you very much for your time. I hope you'll take this under consideration. And the numbers for the hall to call to rent are located on the front of the building. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Joanne. Would you, if there's any questions from council, would you delegate those over to Bill to answer? If there are any questions, yes. Is there any questions for Joanne at this point in time? Now I've got her running back and forth. Somebody better ask her a question. John, Deputy Mayor Bell.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And first of all, thank you, Joanne, for coming and I guess more or less, shall we say, updating and educating council as to what the hall committee is doing. I know that you and Bill have been a part of that for I'm not sure how long, so we don't want to date ourselves, but I know you're very concerned. I know it's a great piece of not only history, but it is a great piece of architecture in the rural municipality, and anything we can do to try to help to obviously get it more used is what council's concern is. So I think you've addressed some of those questions. Unfortunately, the water problem is something that we are unable to control, but you've taken action to make sure that, you know, we're in compliance, we'll put it that way, with the health unit. So that's the main thing going forward. So I commend you for wanting to make use of it, and I'm sure that we'll see some more activity out there. So congratulations.
I would ask that anybody that speaks to me does speak clearly and speak up. I wear hearing aids in both ears.
Okay. No, I'm going to take Rob first, and then Carol.
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
Yeah, I
Thompson.
agree with what Mr. Bell has stated. Just one question. When person wants to rent the hall, do they contact the municipal office, or is it through?
They contact us. That's
And
why our
then-
names and numbers are on the front of the hall.
Okay.
And if you care to put our names and numbers in the newsletter or the thing that comes out with the tax notice, we
Yeah.
are all fine with that.
Oh. Just-
Bill and I have an answering machine,
Oh, yeah.
so if we're not home,
Because I know when you just give us a brief count on the people that rented the hall in the past, I wasn't aware of all the people that did rent that over the couple
we've
of
had
years.
weddings there.
Yeah.
We've had just about everything you can name.
I wonder if it could be a yearly, if your committee could do a yearly report to council
We certainly
and
could.
just give us an update on how many rentals there is, to give us a better idea
Yep.
that it is being used, because we're under the impression it's not being used a whole lot, and then, of course, with the health unit and their rules and everything else, and this is all come about. And it's my opinion, I don't want to see any of these small halls closed or sold or anything like that. It's a benefit to the rural communities, and but I think a small report would benefit council.
Okay, thanks, Rob. Carol? Councillor Lawrence?
Thank you. I just want to commend you and your committee for your efforts there. That's great. But I just wanted to say I agree with you 100% on the memorial there to the veterans. It's something that needs to be preserved and honored. And I'm happy to hear you're going to have something on 11th of November, because that's a great way to make it known to the people. A lot of people don't realize it's in there. And
No, they don't. And we have installed a new light in the porch to try to highlight it. But people, when they come out, when we have the vote out there, they just, walk in and they're socializing. They're visiting with their neighbor, whatever.
Right.
We do have a wreath. We try to put it in front of it. And Bill is going to make 2 stands on either end, and we're going to get a West Grey flag, and we're going to get a Canadian flag and
Nice.
stand it at either side of the monument, in hopes that anyone that walks in that building will see that, take a moment, look, because their relatives, friends, and neighbors are on there.
Yeah,
I
that
mean-
would draw the attention to it more so too, if you had flags there. People, the flags would catch their eye, and then they'd
Yeah.
read that. Well, anyway, keep up the good work, that's great. I don't want to see that hall close.
I don't either.
Okay. Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you, Joanne, and committee for coming forward to us. I guess our concern as a council is always that there's going to be costs involved in keeping this hall running, and that's something we have to seriously look at, and I think your group as a whole can help us with that if you're interested in doing some fundraising, that type of thing. It's sort of the old adage that if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And I think that's, there's no sense of us putting money into a hall that doesn't get used. So, I'm glad to hear that you are using it and promoting it. I think that's part of the thing, is promote these halls that, to get people to use them, because we don't want to put money into something that's just sitting there and not being used, right? So I think this is a good year with, you mentioned about the memorial and with the centennial. It's a good year to maybe take a look at that hall, and if you want to keep it there, then let's use it and let's put some money into it and let's get it going, sort of thing. So the other thing that I think you need to keep in mind, and we struggle, Stoddard Hall is in the same situation, accessibility.
Ours is wheelchair and walker and cane accessible.
Okay, good, yeah, because that's
And
something that's important.
What
yeah.
Bill would like to see, all of us would like to see, is that we would have a wider bathroom door. Not that it can be wheelchair accessible, because that would require making the room bigger, and that takes away the hall space. But we would like to see the door bigger, that a wheelchair could go to the door, and a walker from there, and bars on the walls.
Right.
And
Yeah.
we've never had a problem to date, ever, of anyone not being able to use that washroom or to come to us and say it is a problem. But we know that in 2017, this is a priority in all buildings to have everything. We are accessible at the front door, and our door walking into the hall is extra wide.
Right. I think the date is, I think the 2025, I think, is the official date,
Is the official.
year that things have to be made accessible. So that's great. You're in
Yep.
good shape there.
Yep.
Excellent. Anything else? Anyone else? On behalf of council, thank you very much. I know that you and Bill were one of the initial members of that committee. There's been a couple. There's still a couple that are still there with you. Mr. Burke, I believe, is one of the remaining from the initial Glenelg Hall committee. So thank you, Bill and Joanne, for continuing on, to the Morrises for coming forward. And to reiterate what Doug was saying, you know, if we don't want to close them, but if they're not being used, it makes it difficult for us to continue to ensure, to have the utilities. And as you said, with the water, with the health unit, just for the safety aspect of it, the health, we need that, need the use. And maybe this, anybody out there that is looking for a small hall for family gatherings or anything of that nature, for a potluck, for just a card game, that you don't want all of those characters in your house, that's the best place to have them. Put them in somebody else's place. But the usage of it, I think it is one of those gems that we all grew up with, and continue, the community today would benefit from having that facility there. So we look forward to working with you. I think we can do a bit more on, get a hold of Eunice and see what we can do as far as being on the website. Have that updated, and maybe pictures or whatever, but we'll work with
We would
whatever
love
we
that.
can to make it more noticeable
Exactly.
for individuals.
Exactly.
Very good.
And one more comment. Michael
ahead.
Burke is one of the family members of the people
yes.
on that beautiful monument. And if council or anyone in this room knows any family members, relatives of people on that World War I memorial, we as a committee would appreciate your input to us with names, phone numbers, emails, that we could contact these people.
Very good.
Yeah,
We'll pass the word along to anyone that we can.
thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joanne. Very good. Okay. Mr. Tremble. I believe Don Tremble has a, yeah, if you want to go, away, go. Mr. Tremble, you have asked for delegation this morning, Don, and want to discuss a little bit about property standards.
Yeah, a couple of things. I want to give you
Sure,
a quick update on a couple of projects I'm involved with in town here. My son and I bought the property over in Chester Street, 13 single lots, which we're developing right away. Everything's close to coming here for approvals. Great response to that advertising. We have 7 reserved, 5 people from Durham, one family from Hanover, and a family from Kitchener that want to build there. So I'm sure that project will go real well. But the project I'm real excited about is the Galbraith. The person that bought it was a partner of mine in the past, and we're partnering up again. We're moving quite quick on it. We've right now we got a couple of different scenarios drawn up. Approximately 275 lots of singles, semi-detached, and townhouses, and we're trying to make a seniors complex up there too, which depending on zoning would just be a small complex with apartments, not a full house. And just the impact that would have on this area, I think, is I just did some numbers. If I was to purchase 287 permits at approximately $2,200 a piece, would be a $650,000 revenue. West grade development charges at $3,200 a piece would be a $930,000 revenue. The big revenue down the road would be the taxes. Even if we did approximately $3,000 a unit, which I think would be more than that, it would be approximately $850,000 a year. I know West Gray doesn't get that; they only get a small proportion of that, but it's something that's, you know, positive. But and then the county, our county, 287 units that I think it's going to be around $5,400 a piece once next year comes in place, which would be $1,500,000 that we would create for the county. We're optimistic that we're going to do 50 to 60 units a year. I'm positive and thinking actually more, because if Dundalk can sell 100 or 150, I can't see why we can't do that. But we're thinking 50 would be a nice number if that could happen. And it's about a $10 million investment that my partner and I are going to have to make this happen up there with that. And so doing that kind of investment, we thought we would hire a marketing company to do a pre-marketing on the area. So we spent a little bit of money just to do a pre-marketing on Durham, which I was pretty happy with some of the stuff they came back with high regards. And you don't realize all these things. So our hospital, medical center, library, they went to Abbeyfield, Serenity, Community Center, Ball Diamond soccer fields, Rockwood Terrace, big things. Having 3 banks was a positive. Conservation area was a real positive on the thing. Tennis courts, and Tim Hortons was there too. They said any town that's going to survive has to have a Tim Hortons. On the negative part was they said we have a very tired downtown. That, you know, the first impressions, we have properties as we come into town that have a bad influence. And also when we drove around to the properties we're on developing, there's other stuff in the area that, and you know, and this has been an ongoing thing for a long time. And it just hiring, I heard we hired a property standards enforcement, but I'd like to know, who do they report to, or how do they come up with when there's complaints? Because we put a complaint in a year ago about a property, and to this day has never got a written thing back. We've seen stuff up on the house saying, you know, take the eave trough down, board the windows up. Like, is that acceptable to have a place that's unlivable with boarded windows? And I'm just using the one as that example. There's other ones. I've taken some pictures and going to hand them to council to look, but just wondering, can we not start enforcing this stuff and try to do something? We have economic development money. Let's spend it in the downtown. We're not going to draw any factories. Where do these towns, Hanover, Mall Forest, all these, they get these grants to beautify the downtown? I think we have a grant of $500. Is there not something we can come as a committee and make it more appetizing for people to fix up their downtown stores, help them out? In Hanover, I think it's up to $15,000 they'll match. If it's $30,000, or they'll match up to. Is there something that we can use economic development or development fee money to make it nice when you come into Durham or in downtown? Help these stores out, because we know that they're having a hard time making a go of it. But if we made it nicer, people would stop, because businesses are trying to come here. There's different businesses that want to come here and trying to come here. And we have some properties that we've, you know, up for tax sales and stuff. Like, let's move on. Let's do something with this stuff. It's been 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. It's not going to get any better. And it just, you know what? I feel that I'm trying to do my part, and I don't ask for a lot back. But the investment we're going to make, it's going to make a big difference on people wanting to come here. And I just want to bring it to attention, and I'm not asking for nothing for free. Just I want to make Durham, Newstead, Ayton-Ware. I want them to make it a place that people want to come here, because we have so much to offer. You know, look what we have here, and I shouldn't use Dundalk, but I'm building a house over in Dundalk right now. But for what we have here and what they have there, like, we have a nice area here. We just need to get rid of some of the negative stuff and react to it, not put it over and over and over and over. And so that was, just wanted to bring it to some attention. I thought this would be a way of doing it. So that's all I have. And I got something I'm going to hand you guys. You can, I just made one copy and hand out, and that's all I have. Is there any questions?
Good. Probably will be some. I can tell you that the property standards is a program that is highly legislated, highly restrictive as to what we can and can, enforce and do. And a lot of it has gone through the courts, and what you can impose on somebody, what you can ask them to do, and how far you can go, especially when it comes to a residence, it ties the hands of the municipality. And I feel your frustration as well too, and frustration for a number of people out there. But that's the courts, and we do live in a just society, and I don't want to get rebel or revolutionary at this point in time, but we are battling as much as we can to make it a better place. The property standards employee reports to Mark and the CEO. Okay. Mark wants that one to the CEO. And it's a constant. I think that she has done a lot of good work since we've employed her. We went for a number of years where we didn't have anybody on a full-time basis on that, but she is making some progress, and I think as we go forward, it will continue. On the tax sales to individuals out there, again, another very highly legislated, restrictive policies that we work with from the province of how far we can go. As you know, there was one property on the main street that has been sold, and we are working on other ones, but the legislation doesn't allow us to do it today and have it sold tomorrow. It's a process that not only frustrates yourself, but sometimes frustrates council, but we are working through that, and I hopefully we've made some progress on properties, and we'll continue to do that and make it an effect. It's not something that I believe I speak for council, that council enjoys, that people have property that they haven't been able to pay the taxes, and we claim it and sell it. We try working with them to resolve it in the best way we can, but there does come to be the ultimate, and it was something that this council of West Grey, I will say, probably worked to mediate it as much as we possibly could, and probably went too far on some of those ones, and I'll say that. But we are getting a little tougher and stronger on that, that here's the deadlines and you must meet, and if you don't, then we're going, then the process will start into action. So with that, Don, other questions you want to take? And Councillor Thompson. Rob?
I just wanted to add to what Mayor Eccles was saying, that on your statement about the downtown beautification as economic development, and our budget has not been passed as yet, but we've put in there to improve that amount for the downtowns in Eaton, Newstead, and Durham. So anybody applying after the budget's been passed, there's extra additional funds being put there. We know the condition of some of the buildings when you look in downtown and so on, and so we want that program to continue, and so we've added more funds to that.
Is there grants out there for that at all, or is that not something?
In Elmwood, yes.
Is there grants out there? And what about development charge money? Can that not be used for that, or not? Or is that just strictly for future services and stuff?
Yeah, I suppose we turn that over to...
It's pretty prescriptive on what development charges, and at this point in time, we do not have, and I'm not sure legislatively that would be something that could be put in for development charges as growth related. That's where it gets sticky, some of these things, you would like to do that, but it's in our growth, what's in the development charges right now, and I know that urban renewal, to the point of what you're speaking of, Don, is not in there at this point in time. When we redo the development charges, that'll be in 3 years' time, Mark? Yeah, I think it's 3 years. When we have the review on that, that would be the time we could open it up and take a look at it then, but I know it's not in there right now.
Okay.
So,
Is there bylaws you can bring forward? Just an example, when you say about hands tied, I don't know. I had a piece of property in Orangeville I bought. I bought an infill lot and bought it because it was the right price and kind of left it because I was busy. And I got a notice from Orangeville that the grass needed cut. There was a tree falling down the fence that was falling over. And being busy, I kind of just, yeah, I'll get to it. And I didn't get to it. And like 60 days later, I got a bill for $900 to cut the grass, cut the tree down, fix the... So I went to them and they said, you had your notice. There was no ifs, buts, or ands. Mm-hmm. And I learned to keep the grass cut until I built there real quick. But I just think we need to be a lot stronger on that stuff. Like, the only way you get stuff done is hit somebody's pocketbook. It's funny. I get calls from Steve lots of times in town. The property across from Tim Hortons where my son bought. The grass it looks awful, Don. We have complaints. I go cut it right away. Countess Street, I knocked a house down, had a hole there, still a partial hole left. We have complaints that somebody's going to fall in there. I go and do it right away. Like, these things need to be enforced, and I just think that you need to have a hard handle. I know it's small town, small stuff, but if you made more bylaws, if a house is unoccupied and it's boarded up, it's not livable. Like it should be tore down or not made safe. Like across the road from where I live, it's got a thing up there that they had to apply to two things: tear the eave troughs off and make the people can't go inside it. Like, I don't think that's acceptable. Like, we pay, there's 12 of us on that side of the street that pay $5,000 to $8,000 a year taxes, and that's acceptable. That's, that's just one. There's lots of other ones that are that. I take that one to heart because I live across the road. And I'm not picking on anybody. It's just that every time I back out my driveway, I look at it, and it's and I keep my taxes paid up, and I know they probably pay their taxes, but it's a little disheartening. So I'll just leave you with these pictures. You can look at them, and I appreciate the time, and I know you do your best. I just think we need to take a little bit more hard line on it and say I'm not paying taxes. You don't pay your taxes, you get your notice. Like, you know what? There's a lot of unpaid taxes out there that the people that pay are subsidizing.
we're doing, when you're speaking of the taxes, the Finance Department is doing a really good overview of that. As I said before, we were maybe a little on the side of not forgiving, but working to try and find something, and it didn't. And sometimes you need to come down with the hammer, and we have shown that here in the last few years. That's what we're going to do, and it has improved that the tax arrears dramatically, getting more into line with a lot of other municipalities. So it has been a hard line. It's not something that is, as I said before, easy, but the hard work is here, and this council has bared down and is onto it. I do have a couple of other questions, Don, if you would take them. Councillor Lawrence.
Thank you. It's not a question, Don. It's just a thank you for all you've done for West Grey, and particularly Durham. You have added so much, to the quality of life in the homes you build, and I know it's your business, but you've added to the assessment greatly, and employment for a lot of people, and I just want to say thanks, and it sounds like it's going to continue and get much bigger, so you've done it.
No, very
super
proud,
job.
very proud to be part of West Grey. Like, it's...
Thank you. Councillor Hutchison. Doug?
Yeah, Don, I'd like to follow that. I'd like to compliment you on what you've done for our villages, and you build a great house, and it really has brought the standards up. We see some of the older houses that you've removed and built new and so on. A couple things. One being, I think since I've been on council, I think we have made some changes. I mean, it's a long ways to go, and it takes a long time to get some of these situations solved. I think the fact that we have a property standards person is a plus, and I agree, we do need to follow through and make that a little more difficult for the people that aren't doing their job. The other thing is, we are looking at, hopefully, in the near future, if the government will get on board with us, doing a big dig downtown and redoing our street. And so I'm hoping when that happens that we can add some lighting and whatnot to beautify the downtown, and hopefully some of the buildings will be fixed up at that time when we're going through that. The other thing is, one of the things that I find that's a disincentive is we have a rule, a regulation that we need to get changed, is that if you have a property, a business on Main Street and it's empty, you get a rebate on your taxes, and I don't think that's right. In some places, some municipalities, starting with Windsor, the city of Windsor, are looking at that and saying, hey, if you have a piece of property and it's sitting there and there's nothing in it, you shouldn't get a break. You should be forced to do something or penalized. And so there is some movement out there on that, and hopefully that's going to continue and that we get that changed. So yeah, so that's sort of where we're at, and thank you for your efforts, Don.
I just thought if I brought it now, we're on a hoping by next fall that we can be doing something up top of the hill, but probably in a perfect world, it's going to be the spring of 2018. But if we can do the first stage, we're trying to fast track it here, but it's just all the different stuff you have to do. But we're definitely thinking 2018 is going to be in. And John, he's a big marketing guy. He spends a lot of money on marketing, and he thinks he thinks he can, and not that it's going to be good, he thinks he can move Toronto retired people to Durham, because he's come up here and he didn't realize, when I worked for him for all those years of now he realizes why I want to stay up here when he came up here and seen, so I don't want to move Toronto to Durham, but I would like to, and it's probably going to be a 60 plus market that we're going to really attract. But until you see this stuff come to you, you realize we have a lot of stuff. Like, we have a lot of things for a small town to offer. But thank you for your time, and appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Don, and yeah, we'll accept those. We can peruse your comments. Okay, Mark, if you can, I guess Mark has already gone to get Carrie, so that's good. We're going down to Director Reports. It's next on the agenda, and that would be starting with the Director of Finance. So we'll wait a couple of seconds while Mark asks Carrie to join us. Doug, while we're waiting, go ahead.
Can I ask you another question, Don, while we're waiting there? So a lot of times you see these subdivisions pop up and whatnot, and the next thing that follows seems to be retail. Like, a lot of times you'll end up with a strip mall or something because of the number of homes in that area, and then there's you need a pizza shop, and you need a clothing store, you need a variety store. Is there any movement on that? Do you see that as something that could potentially happen here?
All I'm thinking is whenever you get population families, there's a certain amount that have to use the area. So it's good that the food land's been bought. I hear they're going to do some major renovations. So it's definitely going to help. I can't say because I'm building 200 houses in the next 5 years, it's going to create a mall in Durham, but it's going to definitely help the people that are, and Durham construction. I get a lot of praise from Eckerd's Shell when I do construction, because a lot of my people sneak out there to get gas, they sneak out there to buy lunch. They always see a big impact, especially around Durham Road, of how much it draws. So, I hear it from Country Corner Restaurant. I don't hear a lot. Tim Hortons obviously doesn't matter whether we build or not they're going to do this, but it's going to have an input. I don't know if it would bring malls. It would be nice to think that, but it would at least support the stores we have downtown in some capacity. And I feel if you get an older clientele, not older, but my age, in your late 50s, early 60s, we'll stay and shop in town. We'll stay and shop in town, where our young kids will drive to Newmarket or drive to wherever, but it's, you know, I try to preach it. Don't make my wife. I asked my wife if she would shop at the Foodland and Tom's on. We buy all my clothes at Tom's. I don't. so little things like that. If you get that people thinking that, it's got to help. It's and if we have a nice downtown, and then, you know, Walkerton and Hanover have done some work, some serious work, and I think we need to take a walk on that.
Councillor Cunningham, Beth?
I have to make a comment here.
Go for it.
Yeah, I am. I agree that the downtown core could be beautified more. I agree that the stores could be updated. I agree, and I've been trying for years, and hopefully with the big dig it'll happen, for like different signs and different lighting and different ways to make the downtown much more attractive. But I totally disagree with strip malls and things like that, because that does not beautify the downtown. That takes, a strip mall would end up somewhere, and that ends up, you know, disconnecting the downtown from a strip mall. Strip malls are, you know, just, to me, is not the reason I moved here, and I hope not the reason people do move here. So there are some differences, I think, of opinion, but certainly beautifying the downtown and extending the downtown with some lovely, you know, properly built buildings to sort of fit the downtown. And if we had an idea as to what the downtown wants to look like, that's the point too, is making some sort of, create a plan, how it wants to look, where it's going to go, and how it's going to maneuver. That, I think, would be the drawing card. You can go anywhere and get a strip mall. I don't think people come here for that.
For a little spot, not big malls, but stuff that would attract franchise. Whenever you get franchise places to come, it's always good, like your Subways and your, you know.
Same ideas.
I don't, yeah, we're not gonna get a mall in Durham, I don't think.
Okay. We done with the delegation? We have Carrie here now. Okay, thank you very much again, Don.
Thank you.
And we'll take that into consideration going forward.
No, that's for you guys.
No, that was,
You can,
yep, peruse through it. Okay. All right. We're down to the regular agenda, starting with the Director of Finance, Treasurer. Welcome this morning, Carrie. And under Carrie's reports, the first one is the vouchers. And are there any comments, questions? Councillor Lawrence. Carol?
I don't have a question, I just have a comment. The hydro charges are becoming horrendous, aren't they? My word, they're almost double what they were a few years ago. When you look at the arenas and so on, it's... When you think, those are small buildings, when you think of a big factory, it's little wonder we're losing them to the south. It's horrendous. Like the Durham Arena, $12,358. That's a huge amount. And it's not alone. They all stand, I'm just picking on that one, but...
Yep, that's, you know, they all stand out as,
Oh.
if you've been around for a couple of terms, it's just...
Well, it's almost double.
Doop.
It is almost double to what it was probably 6 years ago, something like that.
So
Seven, not even that long ago.
Do you want to mention how much difficulty that is on the budget meetings that we'll have tomorrow on keeping
Well,
our budget to somewhere under 2%? It's, I got to give
Hard.
staff credit for finding as much as we can, you know, technologically and every other way of savings and trying to keep that under, but it's, you try to keep the doors open, it's going to, the hydro bills are costly.
I think it's for that reason. I hate putting fees up, charges. I mean, it's a fine line, but it's something we have to look at because they're taking quite a lot more money.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to see us look at our fees and charges maybe around March, April, something like that, for the next year.
Certainly for the next
For the next season.
year-in season for the
Yeah.
arenas especially.
Yeah.
Point well taken. Any other questions on the vouchers? Doug, Councillor Hutchison.
Yeah, on page 51 in our agenda package, page 7 on yours, Carrie, Just a question about the Christmas, the lights, the lighting, and there was money spent on Christmas lighting and whatnot. I'm just wondering, I asked a question earlier, and I don't know whether we really got back to it, about the new LED lights, street lights and whatnot, and whether we're still using the same service person for that. Like, I mean, there shouldn't be a lot of service needed now that we have new LED lights and they're supposed to be less work. But I'm just wondering, are we still using the service of the chap that's doing it now? Get his name here. Ken Johns, right. So is he still doing that? Does he service our LED lights, or is he capable of doing that?
Brent?
My
Just
recollection, Councillor Hutchinson, is that the lights are guaranteed for a year, so they're under warranty. So if there's any issues between when they were installed up until next August, September, they're under full warranty, and Real Term has a contractor that comes in to fix them. So but after that, they will be up to us to look after. So. And in respect to that, we do have 3 different styles, if you want to call them, or different wattages of LED lights that we have in our community. Steve has kept one of each particular type. They are expensive, so rather than have a whole bunch, that we would just have one and replace it as required. So we're not keeping a high inventory of these street lights, but eventually they will become ours to maintain in the future, but currently right now we don't have to engage that gentleman's services.
Right. And I guess because he has the truck, I mean, it's maybe just a matter of switching out bulbs or something. Maybe it's very simple. I don't know. Or are the individual bulbs in those lights like the?
No, it's the complete head.
It's a complete unit.
It's the complete.
Yeah. I wondered if that could be added or taken away over time. Like you couldn't extend that unit. You'd probably have to have a new fixture.
I think the reason for the whole, and I'm sorry, I don't know the full answer to that, but I think the idea is that we kept the full heads in the event that a car were to hit a pole and the street light comes down, you need the full head to replace the light. So I'm not sure if it's a very easy thing of switching out the actual LED component on the street lamp, but I will look into that.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Brent. I do have one other question.
Go ahead.
On page 52, Household Hazardous Waste Program, we paid $800 to the Corporation of the City of OWE. Now, is that Ontario Waste something maybe, or it's called a city? So I'm curious of what that is.
It's the City of
Owen
Owen
Sound.
Sound. It just, because
Oh,
it starts with
OWE.
corporation, it just cut
okay.
it off, but it is the City of Owen Sound.
Okay, right, okay, for their
'Cause
program.
yeah,
All right, I get it
People
now.
can go up to Owen Sound and take their
I
hazardous
just
waste
couldn't-
throughout the year.
Couldn't figure out what that OWE city was, so. Okay, thank you.
Sometimes the acronyms can get a little bit confusing, and then, especially when we create them on the go. Okay? And if that is for anybody's information, we still continue that contract. I guess we'll see whether we do it again this year or not with the City of Owen Sound. If you've got hazardous waste, they have it on I think it's every, Mark, and I'm not, it's on 6 or, they have quite a bit anyways that it's available, and we pay a fee to access their hazardous waste for disposal of hazardous waste, as our landfills are not certified or licensed to take hazardous waste at this time, although we are looking at ways of accepting hazardous waste as we accept styrofoam and other electronics recyclables. There may be a possibility, but that's not available. So in that aspect, we have Owen Sound that covers us off. Okay? Any other questions on the... Seeing none. Vouchers, I have a motion moved by Bev Cutting, seconded by Carol Lawrence. Be it resolved that Director of Finance Treasurer be authorized to pay the accounts presented as voucher number 24, 2016, and voucher number 1, 2017 of the Municipality of West Grey in the amounts of $398,239.87 and $44,730.39 respectfully. Any questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Very good. No, there's one other item here. Going back here, Carrie, the next one you have is a request from the Regional Grant for Play from the Health Unit. You want to expand any more on that, or Councillor Hutchison on that committee? Do you want to speak to it, Doug?
Yes, basically what this is about is the last meeting, they're trying to expand on the whole idea of play so that it's not just 2 days a year that we put a focus on play and physical activity. They want to expand it to across the board so it encompasses children, seniors, middle age, and so rebrand the whole idea of play. And one of the things that came up with, we had a lady from the ministry talk to us, and they're looking at applying for a grant. So basically what this is saying is the $300 that we put towards the Grey Bruce Health Play Committee, if we'd like to sort of support putting this grant forward, and how active a role do we want to play in that committee. So there's a chart there that they asked me to fill in, but I couldn't really fill in myself because it sort of says what direction does council want to do. So I'm looking for input from council in terms of how active we want to be in this grant application. The first part talks about support a 2-year grant application to the OCRCF. So that's pretty straightforward. And do we want to support put our $300 towards the contribution that we need to put forward to apply for this grant? And would we supply a letter of support? Do we want a partnership agreement supporting this project? And do we want to play a lead role? So basically, I wanted to bring that forward to council so you can give me some input, because we have another meeting this Thursday to sort of talk about this and hopefully put in for the grant. So it's just a case of how active do we want to be in this grant application.
Comments? Carol?
I just have a question. If the 300, and I thought it was 600 we used to pay, wasn't it, Carrie, when we started? Seems to me it was 600. We started out, and it was started by, I think, Jane at Saugeen Shores way back. But anyway, the money that, or the, whatever they use, the normal contribution of 300, if that goes towards a grant, what happens to what that has normally funded? Have they talked about that, or are they not going to do anything else?
I don't. We haven't really discussed that part of it. I didn't realize that was part of it, but like it's, they're asking for putting money up for it. So yeah, that's a good question, Carol. I don't know. I'll have to ask that.
When's the cutoff date?
Well, they wanted the feedback from this chart for today, so we'd have to send that through in terms of, yeah, and I just got that just before Christmas, so I forwarded it through to Mark. But the application, I think it was said, was February something, and so this meeting this week we'll be talking about it. So, and I mean, it's just, I think really they're just looking for support. Are we supportive of going forward with the grant application? And personally, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't be, but that's up to us.
Is there any thought, I've got no problem with going for the grant application. It's kind of always the devil in the details. If we put our $300 in, saying, yeah, use it whichever direction you want to go for the health unit, but after we get the grant, is there an expectation of, if we're in as a partner, how much more funding is going to be requested by West Grey? That is always, and in this, it doesn't seem that there is, but there's not a lot of detail once you get the grant, what the expectations are for the partners, I guess. Yeah. Is it staff time? John?
Yeah, you're exactly right about that, Mr. Mayor, and that's what I'm reading here, and I'm just the second part there. Would you support your $300 annual membership being used to cover the 10% cash contribution required for the project for 17 and 18. Like, just not exactly sure on that wording. As you point out, Mr. Mayor, and Doug, I think, acknowledges the fact that maybe we just don't have enough information as to what's expected from us after the $300. Where is the other 90% cash contribution coming from? I guess that's what I want to know,
That's the point.
after the 10%.
As to like what is this covering? I know there was talk in I don't know if it's in this part. I think somewhere along the line they talked about hiring a promotional coordinator for this activity. So that came out somewhere in that. I don't know if it was in this part, but I think it was. So yeah, what all the costs are, and that's a good question. So those are the questions I guess I can ask. You know, and if it's too early to put forward our support, then I guess we take it back that way. I take it back that way.
I mean, on the face value of it, I could, you know, support it. If it's $300 and they, you know, this is where they want it to go. It's the follow-up to that of trying to understand, you know, how long we want to be in. I think I would recommend to council, and with budget tomorrow, we're in for $300, but tell the health unit that, you know, that's kind of where we're supporting an awful lot now. Carol said with arenas, there's parks, there's, you know, a number of trails, putting money into conservation for trails and parks, and yeah, the play area. I think we have facilities for individuals to play. Is what they're looking is getting people out into the outdoors and playing, I guess.
So could we suggest that we're in favor in principle of maybe the idea behind it, as long as we're expected to only give our $300 contribution? We're saying we're not really wanting to put more money towards this, right?
I think that would be fair. Carol?
I was just reading, could we also provide a letter of support? Not financial, but a letter of support for the... You know, Mr. Mayor, I just want to say, that this all sounds well and good, but it's actually about educating people. And I think when we have our own facilities and we have walking, you know, we have walking and we have different things, that gets to the people, I think, a little bit better than all this education.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Bev?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. We could give $300 and extend the trails a little bit and probably do more with the $300 than is going to happen through that particular grant. So I don't know. I think we should really think about it. And
Yeah. Well, I don't think we really know exactly what all is going to come out of this, but as you read in the preamble, it talks about physical literacy, embedded physical literacy throughout sport and recreation activity as a foundation. So what they're saying is they want to promote it more, want to advertise more, to get people more involved. So that's part of this. There's increasing opportunities, which is part of it too, but and strengthen the applicant's ability to deliver quality sport and recreation programming. So I would hope that it would all lead to people using our facilities more, is what sort of the idea behind is to try to get people to participate more and promote it across the board. So that's sort of what it's all about. But obviously we don't have all the details and we'll have to get more, but the principle I think is a good idea.
Okay. Bev?
yeah, I suppose that's the whole premise, is that what is it they're exactly trying to do? And what is the grant for? And is it going to include, you know, all of Grey County? And is it going to promote evenly all of the facilities, et cetera? And really, does that make people use it more? Probably not. So
No, I'm not going to say. Doug, did you want to put forward a motion? Let's see where it goes about the in principle. I mean, the $300 has been in our budget. Rob, you were on that for at least the last 5 or 6 years, 4 years, that we've had this with the health unit. I mean, yeah, we've seen some, and maybe it's just promoting more of the activities. We could get them to promote the Colleen Lawrence Run and what you have to do to get ready to get in the 5K walk to beat the mayor. You know, how much training is needed necessary.
And I think they do, to be fair, I think they do promote the run as it is. So I guess so if I'd like to
Mr.
put
Hutchison has
a,
the floor. Let's let him talk. Come on.
I'd like to put forward a motion that the West Grey Council supports in principle the play application for funding through the Grey Bruce Health Unit to promote physical activity to all members of Grey Bruce.
Go ahead, Bev.
So that's not including giving her $300, correct?
No, yes, sorry. I should say in there somewhere that we're okay with supporting the $300, but not adding extra money at this time. So
Because
support in
that-
principle plus the $300, I guess.
But that $300, Oh, I'm flashing.
Yeah.
I'm flashing. Anyways, that 300.
Microphone is flashing. Thank you.
I thought my earrings. Anyways, that $300 though promotes what we do in West Grey. So if we give that away, all of a sudden we've stopped promoting what is happening right here. I don't know that I would support it because we're promoting the longest day of play with that 300. I mean, it's not much money. We pass it over. Suddenly we need more money to promote activities going on that longest day of play, and we don't have it because we've given it to someone else. I don't know that I'll support
Want to
this.
comment? Go ahead, Rob.
As long as I was on that committee for 4 years, the $300 was just a membership to be part of it. So West Grey was part of that program through Bruce and Grey. I don't recall anywhere that we got our $300 worth from anyone. Bruce Power supplied all the T-shirts and all the items that were handed out. There was other corporate sponsors. I mean, we had to get sponsorship to rent the ice surface on the longest day of play or the shortest day of play, and so that $300 was just a membership, and I never seen it. It never come back to West Grey.
Yeah, I agree.
So can I ask, what was it used for,
I have no idea.
the membership? You don't know? Do you know, Doug?
They did buy those trophies that now no longer have. Other than that, I know when we had meetings, we had one in Durham here, and I had to rent the facility and provide the refreshments. So I have no idea where it was just a membership when I was there, Doug. And it may have changed since I've been off.
Comment, Doug.
So I can take that back to the committee and ask them, what is the $300 used for now? And how is this going to change that? So I can ask that question.
Well, then I don't know. Until that's answered, I wouldn't support the motion.
The one thing about, well, there's not yet. So if nobody, does anybody want to second it before we get? I would suggest, Doug, that seeing as the application doesn't need to go in until February, you have a meeting on Thursday. You know, we've had a fulsome discussion here about it, but the other aspect is we have a council meeting on Monday again, right? Just the way the new year came in. We have two back-to-back. If you can get more information for us on Thursday, we can have a follow-up discussion on that on Monday, and hopefully that wouldn't be detrimental to the application. I think there's some interest here, but there needs to be some details filled in before we get approval. Fair enough? Okay? Good. Carrie, somebody's looking for 50% for operations and maintenance for 2017 to be able to continue on the work
Just
of
to
the
keep our-
municipality?
Yeah, it's a standard
That's impressive.
resolution that we do every year, just to, until the budget's passed, just, the accounts still come forward the same, it's just to keep the day-to-day operations going.
And to kind of cover yourself when the when that member from BDO comes in to do audit. Yeah. I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson, seconded by Doug Hutchison. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby approves the 2017 operations and maintenance budget for the Municipality of West Grey to a maximum of 50% of the 2016 budget. Any questions or comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay, there you are, Mark. The next one is on correspondence with the, we're locked in with the County of Grey on our mileage rate for any of the operations within West Grey. I took note that this is up to the end of 2016. As most people would have seen, starting in the first week of January, gas prices, I think there was a carbon tax thing that said it was 4 cents. But I've noticed it's been anywhere from 6 to 8 is probably where the jump has been, or 10 as I'm hearing from a few individuals. But I think this only increased us by 0.005.
Yeah, this one actually stayed the same. The
Oh,
next
sorry.
quarter that we'll likely see a change because it's on the previous 3 months,
Months.
so that we set
Yeah.
that rate for, so.
Very good. Okay. And that's just there for information. And then the last one there is the council remuneration is reported for the end of the year. Any other questions for Carrie at this point in time? No? Thank you. And Carrie, I guess one thing to announce, I think we've said that before, but we've never formally, I guess we have kind of formally met your new employee in the finance department, but she did start on the, very much officially in the December 10th and has worked with Sharon, but as of December 31st, she's on her own now. Sharon is retirement of our former tax collector. I can say former now, Sharon Hamill is fully retired, and Becky Welts is in her office. And I did notice this morning, we even, through the vouchers there, we've got her name tag is up on that, and look forward, good transition, an excellent transition from Sharon to Becky. So, congratulations. Okay, if there's nothing else for Carrie, then we'll go down to Public Works, I believe, is our next one. And Brent, welcome this morning. And your first subject is an emergency. Was the replacement of the furnace at the Glenelg work shed. You want to update us on that one? Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, unfortunately, the furnace, which was scheduled to be replaced in 2018, didn't quite make it. The issue with the furnace, as you read in my report, was very important. We couldn't delay replacement. It needed to be repaired or replaced immediately. In consultation with a contractor that brought on site, we decided to move away. Right now, the current furnace is a oil-fired furnace that has a duct system. Very inefficient way of moving air within, okay for house, but not so much for a large industrial type establishment. We decided that it was more efficient to go with 2 aerial suspended units that were going to be placed in the shed, propane fired. They were successful in getting one up and running last Friday, and I believe the other one is being installed today. The lowest vendor was, and I was a bit of a time struggle, so I obtained 2 quotes, one from Hamilton, or am I right? Hamilton Heating, first quote, and the second quote received from Pratt and Hunter, which were the lowest bidders or lowest price received. So I awarded the work to them immediately last Friday, only because they had to put the order in for the units, and time was of the essence, so I moved fairly quickly on that. And so did they. They responded quite quickly due to the weather conditions that were hampering our area last weekend. So things are moving along quite well there. So it's more or less for council's information that I provided this with. The only thing I'm asking council for is that, and maybe Carrie would help us out here with that, but I'm asking that because it wasn't a budgeted expense, that it would be come out of possible 2016 surplus revenues or surplus funds that I believe that my department will have.
Well, before I ask Carrie to comment on it, I'm going to move the motion, and then you'll see whether Carrie needs to comment on it or not. The motion's moved by Bev Cutting, seconded by Carol Lawrence. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Garry hereby approves the replacement of the Glenelg Shed oil furnace with 2 overhead propane gas-fired furnaces and a hot water tank from Pratt & Hunter Limited at a total cost of $12,880 plus HST, with 2016 Public Works Department surplus funds being used to offset this expense. Any questions or comments on the motion? And because it was an emergency, we could step away from the purchasing policy, Carrie. So we did follow, got a couple of quotes on this. And I believe the way this is made in here, Mr. Glazier, that it's up to you now to find a surplus in the 2016 budget.
Yes, I believe that will be my responsibility, Your Worship.
Okay. Any other questions on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. The next one, Brent, was the equipment rate schedule. We'd gone through this, I believe, at the last budget meeting, and this is your report back to us of the revisions for 2017 to set that. Any further comments other than what's in your report, Brent?
I'll take questions if council have any issues with the rates that I've put forward.
Okay. Any questions on those rates as suggested? Doug, Councillor Hutchison.
Yeah, just a question, Brent. How do these compare now with the general private contractor sort of thing? Are we close, or do we know?
Yeah, private contractors, I'm going to go one step maybe above that, but at the county rates, we're still well below county rates on the larger equipment. I'll give you an example. Since if you look at the pickup trucks, we were formerly charging them out at $12 an hour. In my analysis and looking forward to, or trying to develop a rate, a reasonable rate for the trucks, a standard pickup is running between 13 to 15 liters per 100K. At today's dollars, that's $15 per hour is what it's costing to run a pickup, approximately. So that doesn't leave very much for fuel, or sorry, doesn't leave very much for replacement value, fuel, or not fuel, sorry, insurance and other things. So, but as I explained before, I just wanted to do this in gradual steps. I want to sit back after this year, analyze it, and to see if we're moving ahead. And I want to say staying in the black, not in the red. And I'm hoping with this subtle increase, and I call it subtle because I didn't really jump it too much, that I analyze it again at the end of 2017 to see where we are financially, and working with Carrie on that and looking at our equipment revenues to make sure that it does stay in the black.
Okay. Any other questions before I introduce? I have a motion moved by John A. Bell and seconded by Rob Thompson. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Garry hereby endorses the revised equipment rate schedule effective January 1st, 2017, as contained in Report to Council Director of Infrastructure and Public Works, Report 0109, 2017. Any questions, further comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Now, the third report is we just passed an operation and maintenance, and that is predominantly for the public works, arenas and every other place. But this one, Brent, is on a capital where you want to go kind of ahead of budget to get this out there and get it in place. Brent?
Yes, Your Worship. The main reasoning is the time that it's going to take for the truck to come back to West Grey fully completed. It's going to take, in consultation with the bodybuilder in Mount Forest, it's going to take, if we're successful in tendering immediately, it's going to be end of August, beginning of September before we're going to see a truck. So it's going to take that long to get that piece of equipment back. The other one being the new one-ton dump box, same thing. It's going to take 90 to 120 days to receive the chassis if we tender it, and then it's going to take probably another 4 weeks, depending on which bodybuilder puts on the box. We're into May, and I was really hoping to have that piece of equipment. I think utilities supervisor is going to it's going to be of a great use to his department moving forward. So it was the idea to try and get it, have it made for early spring. And one of the other things, more importantly, is I don't know what the Canadian and American dollar is going to do, but these are both tied, has significant impact on the dollar. So I was hoping that, to get it tendered sooner before our Canadian dollar, whatever it does, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball on that, but regardless, I just want to move forward with just these two items, if I could, please.
Questions or comments? Go ahead, Carol.
Well, I feel we should support this, Mr. Mayor. It's not without precedence. We've done this before for public work pieces individually, and I believe for police cruisers at one time. So it makes every sense. And listening to Brent's explanation there, I feel we should support this request.
Any other comments? Thoughts on it? As I did mention, it is ahead of budget, but both of these items, I believe, are in your 2017 capital purchase replacement. And we do have a budget meeting, but just so council is aware of all the information, if we pass this, then we've given the go-ahead. If you're looking for any place to cut in the budget, these two items are not the ones you're going to cut. Okay? Brent's got a lot more in there that we can cut. Oh no, play hard on the rookie. This, if I'm not mistaken, Brent, in your capital, from asphalt to everything else in the capital, this will still be, what are we looking at? The 300 would be 20% of your capital, somebody 25% of your capital for the year. Maybe not quite, about 20% of what you're in your budget proposal at this point in time. So I think your capital budget's about 1.6.
I haven't got the numbers in front of me. I apologize. I don't.
Yeah, I think it's 1.6, 1.7. So that's why I'm saying it's a little less than 20% that we're fully committing into that before we get to the budget meeting tomorrow. But as I said, I think it's not unprecedented, as Councillor Lawrence said, and definitely something that is required. Okay? Any other comments or questions? Introduce the motion. It's moved by Carol Lawrence and seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby approves the 2017 capital budget for the Municipality of West Grey to a maximum of 50% of the 2016 budget to allow tendering and purchase of the following projects only. Tandem plow truck 265,000. One-ton truck with dump box $45,000. Do you want to put on there plus HST? Or is that including HST? Yeah, okay. We'll just leave it that that's excluded. All right. Any other questions or comments on the motion? Call the question then. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay. Any other questions? Brent, any questions for Brent at this point in time? All the plow equipment, everything in the rural patrols is working very well, and the urbans, streets are cleaned, and
We've had a few, because of the weather, of course, the equipment's been running fairly hard, and, you know, we've got some equipment issues. One was fairly expensive, but you'll hear that on the next report, I believe.
okay. It happens. Bev?
Just one comment. The landfill site is still getting a lot of recycled materials in the garbage bins, not the recycle bins. They're just dumping all their garbage in the clear plastics and throwing them in the garbage part. I don't know how we deal with that. I don't know how we educate. I don't know how we get people, unless we just say that's got recycle in it, take it home and separate it or whatever. But I think we need to figure out some way of trying to get these people to recycle. In the bins the other day, there were several bags, clear bags on top that had definite large amounts of recycling in them that were just thrown in the garbage. I don't know if people, because it was cold, didn't want to drive over and throw them in the recycle part, but there's got to be some way of getting people to take their responsibility, you know, to do it properly.
I'm sorry, I want to understand this correct. You said there was a lot of recycling being placed in the landfill section, not the other way, not the garbage in.
Garbage bins, right there where you go into the
Okay,
Durham and the
yep.
garbage bins, there's the garbage on the left and the recycle on the right. In the garbage bins were clear bags with lots of recycling items in the clear bags in the garbage. So they're not being recycled, it's going into the landfill, whereas they should have been separating that and putting what they can in the recycle and leave the other in the garbage. It's just, and because it's clear bags, it's so very obvious that it's in there. It drives me crazy that people can't, you know, like Coke, you know, like, or pop bottles and pop cans and paper and cardboard. Like, why can't people just figure it out? It's so simple and so necessary, and yet it just seems to be, I don't care, and throw it in. There's got to be consequences, fines, or tell them to take it home and separate it or something. There's got to be harder consequences so that people can't just come in and it's sheer laziness. I mean, it's very obvious what needs to be done. It's sheer laziness that they're throwing all their garbage in one bag and throwing it in the garbage instead of taking the time to recycle and sort and separate.
I'm hoping, actually, in regards to that, Councillor Cutting, I really want to look at our landfill fees this year, only because of the fact that we're going to be instituting a scale in Bendick, and we're going to have to change a lot of things with respect to the fees that we're charging, because it's not going to be by the yard, it'll be by the metric, it'll be weighed materials going in. one of the things that I'm sure council is aware of, that adjacent municipalities are charging an extensive amount more for garbage, and they don't allow people to bring bag tags. In other words, those bag tags are meant for curbside, and we're paying that cost. Like, it's costing us, the municipality money to do that. For them to bring their bags into the landfill is defeating that purpose of having roadside collection. So what I'm getting at is that we should not allow that to happen, because, and had a good point too, one of the staff members said, how do we know they're not taking the bag and cutting the tag off and recycling it over and over and over again? We don't have proof of that. I'm not saying that that's happening, but that could be a possibility. It could be a possibility that it is happening, and that we don't. I want to get away from us having people bring in bag tags across the scales. I'd like to go with a minimum fee. I don't know what that fee is going to be, but it's going to be a lot more than the $2. If people don't want to use curbside, and I've done it before. I mean, it happens. You miss the garbage day, and the landfill, for example, in Hanover does not accept bag tags. You pay a minimum amount, and it's $10, whether you've got one bag or up to the weight. You drive across the scale regardless, but there's a minimum charge of $10. I'm not saying that that's going to help out anything, but because people will just, that's not going to solve what you're saying, Councillor Cutting, but it's just something that I want to look at as a whole. And that's, if that's a problem, then I need to work with the staff to figure out what we can do to mitigate that problem. And maybe it's a fact that, if they're checking the bags, we can refuse the landfill, say, take it home and sort. We're not going to accept it. And it's up to it's more enforcement more than anything. So that's my responsibility. That's something I can talk to Steve about and talk to the staff and say from now on, let's start being more enforcement and take a look. If they're clear bags, look at them. And if they're black bags, they don't object, they're taken back. We don't accept them, period. So,
We need to get tougher.
yeah. And it's going back to what Mr. Trumbull said earlier, is being tougher and more demanding on things like that. You are correct, though. There's better ways of doing business, and I'll mark that down as something to review with Steve and communicate that with the staff before anything's dumped. That the trunk is opened and we inspect the contents, and if it's got a lot of recycling, we say, sorry, we're not accepting it. It's going back. And
Nobody minds one, a little
No.
bit of something, but when you see a bag half full of pop cans and paper, you think, well, that shouldn't be in there. It should be right over there. So
Or we charge them more money and saying it's going to cost you $20 to sort it, because we're going to sort it, and it's going to, we can do something like that. We can say either, if we determine whatever fee structure council wants, we could say penalize people saying that's $20 a bag because we're going to save that, recycle it, or tear it open and move components where they're supposed to be and the rest of it. But people will start getting the hint, I think, if we start doing something like that. That I'm pretty sure people will learn quickly to do something if we have a fee for service, or do something like we tell them that we're not accepting it.
Okay. It is one of those ones where, how do you educate the population? But at the roadside, I know that our pickup people, you will see bags that are left, because we have the clear, and they're very much, but they're left right at your driveway, point of pickup, and they refuse them. You've got recyclables in there, that's not garbage. Take it back in, sort it up. So some of the times I think what happens is well, they throw it into the trunk and just drive it directly to the dump instead of doing the resorting. It's frustrating. Councillor Lawrence.
Well, I just wondered, has anybody ever looked into it or run a survey to find out why people, and there's a lot of people take it to the landfill instead of putting it out for pickup. And we pay for pickup at each and every household, I believe.
Absolutely.
In our contract. I mean, is it just because they've always done it that way, or is it the social aspect out at the Benedict landfill on Saturdays, or like, maybe we need to look into why people don't want to put it out there. I can understand maybe in the winter sometimes, you know, if your banks are yay high, but I mean, it's all year that they want to go to the landfill.
Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, just to answer your question, some of the feedback I've been getting is that they're used to doing that. They've always taken it to the dump over the years, and the fact it's a lot easier, and we don't pick up garbage till every other week, and so they're going down every week to just get rid of it, so they have no place to put it. And in the summertime, they have maggots and everything else, so they drive it down to the dump. But I've also down there 2 weeks ago and seen cardboard laying in the garbage. I walk my garbage over and don't put it in the bins. I throw it over in the pile, but there's cardboard laying in there too. I think it goes back to, sorry to say, but staff needs to come out of that shed and check the vehicles, because they're not doing that. And I thought we had an extra person on Saturdays, so we had 2 people there, but they need to come out of the shed.
Okay, Bev?
Well, I was just going to say, the reason we were there is because it was all mixed up with Christmas. Like it wasn't the Monday, it was the Friday, and then we forgot the Friday, so we ended up taking it in. But we are trying very diligently now to use the pickup. It's so much more convenient, and we're not always in town, is where we live. But it is true, in the summer, you get 2 weeks worth of, we only ever have 1 bag in 2 weeks, but it does get full of maggots, and you know, you cook a chicken, you got fat. So it can be rather gross. So if I am coming in, I will take it to the landfill even in the summer, just to get it out. And also, there's issues with animals. Certainly in our area, we do put it out, but in the garbage can. Like we keep the lid on it, put it in the garbage can out at the road. But the recycles, sometimes if there's any kind of smell or anything like that, they'll come along and you have to go out in the morning and throw it all back in, or put it out in the morning, and hopefully the crows are the worst. The crows get it and just whip it all over the road. So there are issues that maybe some of the people in the country just go, well, it's not worth it, and just take it in. But unfortunately, you're not going to get rid of the animals, you're not going to get rid of the crows, you're not going to get rid of the maggots. So it's maybe just more of a, you know, doing it when you can and using it when you can, but sometimes it's just past the point.
Carol?
Well, I just wanted to say, when you're looking at fees or increasing the fees to the landfill, you have to take into consideration, too, if they're too high, people will leave it on the road. You know, they don't, just like Bev was saying, if it's the summertime and there's maggots and so on, you might, if it's too high at the landfill, you might find a lot of that stuff back on the roads again, and then that's a greater cost because our people have to pick it up, go clean it up.
It's a delicate situation, and we certainly found that and a good example of that is the tires. I can remember that at the Glenelg landfill. Every Saturday between the landfill and Highway 4, you could fill a couple of pickups where everybody said, no, I'm not. I think it was $2 at that time or whatever it was. They were thrown out into the ditch before they got to Highway 4. Doug?
I know one of the issues that with the garbage in the summertime is that young families that have children in diapers is a concern. I know that's come up. To keep that for 2 weeks in the summertime is challenging. So I think that's part of it. The other thing, maybe we did talk about it, and again, it's an expense, but looking at enclosed bins, I think that's part of, you said about the crows and whatnot, but if you have an enclosed bin like they do in Southgate, the big bins, which are an expensive system, but that way you don't have to worry about stuff getting into your garbage when you send it at the road, and you don't have to worry about the wind blowing it all over the village, which quite often happens. So that's another thing. The other thing that's out there, and I hope we'll hear more sooner rather than later, is that the ministry is looking at changes in the whole waste management system, and there's been some literature out there, and they're actually trying to put more pressure back on the producers to change what it is they produce and put more emphasis back on them to gather some of this material. So that's out there, and there's been a lot of talk about that. So I hope that continues, and hopefully that helps us down the road in terms of costs, if nothing else, and the system. So that's coming.
Okay. Carol?
I was going to say, you mentioned birds or crows. I notice when I'm up at Southampton, Port Elgin, the majority of people have a big blanket over there. Like they put their bags out and then they cover it with a blanket. So that it's the gulls up there, I guess, that get into it.
Yeah,
But
seagulls.
that now wouldn't stop the animals probably, but it does stop the birds.
Or recycle boxes, like we put the garbage out in a bin with a lid, so it's fine. It's more the recycle, like I find that sometimes if you've got just containers in there, the crows will come along and just whip them out, but that's a good idea with the blankets. I hadn't thought of that. You wouldn't do that in the winter, I guess, with the snow, but do they really?
Okay. We'll look forward to more discussion, obviously, on this topic. It's not one that is going to go away, and we did have that a good discussion when we went out for that joint tender with Waste Management, because I think we had some numbers in that 55 to 60% of the households, I forget which way it was, were being picked up or weren't being picked up. We're in that 50-50. Do you cut it off altogether? And anyways, at the end of that discussion, it came out, no, we were going to continue. But to your point, Brent, it is there. If we can decrease that traffic coming into the landfill and use what we're paying for, or what we are as a municipality and the taxpayers are, be better off. Okay, Brent, last question, last comment.
No, I was just going to say for council's information, I did the mathematics on it, or did the analytics, if you want to call it. The taxpayer, we have 5,800 households in West Grey, give or approximately. So I worked it through to figure out what the actual cost is per household for the service, and it's $1.91 for every biweekly pickup is what the residents are paying. So they're spending more money driving fuel into the landfills. I don't know if they understand or realize that, the garbage isn't, the service is not really that expensive.
No. Maybe we can get a little bit more information out in the newsletter. Okay.
Letters now at this big.
Yeah. Wisconsin, yeah. That'll drive Eunice crazy. Okay. All right, thank you, Brent. Nothing else on that. That's it for your report. Mark, I believe we're down to clerk's report then, and bylaw number 2, 2017.
Yeah, there are some amendments that will be required. Councillor Hutchison has requested that the names of Jesse Dugay, Ed Morick, and Karen Wilson-Martin be added to the Canada 150, Ontario 150 Coordinating Committee, and that the appointment of Susan Tremble to that committee be rescinded. I believe also that the Dark Sky Committee should be added as a committee, as a recognized committee. And as well, now that the resignation of Don Marshall has been formally recognized through resolution, there should be at least one replacement for council representation on the West Grey Public Library Board.
Okay, do you want any discussion on that before we get down to bylaws, or? Well, we can discuss it at that time, or we can discuss it right now on, whichever way. Carol, go ahead.
Well, I would like to suggest that 2 councillors be placed on the library board. I feel that there has to be a little bit more liaison and communication from council, and I would like to suggest that you place 2 councillors. There's one, not me, but
Councillor Lawrence has suggested 2 members of council sit on the board, the library board. I don't think legislatively we can put, it can't be the majority. Yeah. Yeah, it's exactly, it's 1 less, and 2 would not get us close to having a majority, that's for sure. Legislative. Any comments on that proposal. Doug?
I don't think it's necessary. I think we have a better rapport now with our board than we've ever had, since I've been on anyway, so I don't see it being really necessary, and I don't know whether we have the number of people to put that many people on all these committees, so I don't know. Like, personally, I've got enough committees, it seems like, but
So you're not volunteering to be on the library board?
I'm not really volunteering, but I think one is plenty.
Yeah, go ahead, Carol.
The reason I suggest that is we have, as a council, we can only control through budget, through money. We have no say on the board. And I think they need some oversight from, as I said, two councillors who are involved, who know the impact of their budget on our overall budget. And this is a small thing, and I raised it, though, the other day. Drive past the library at night. They have from dusk to dawn. There's 11 lights on in the gables and down the side. I mean, things like that, I think somebody that's involved here would pick up and take to the board. They maybe don't even think about that and the impact on their costs. You know, it's...
Utilities. Rob, you want to comment?
I think the one person from council would do it. If there was an issue and we find it, then we'll have a second person. But I think one member from this council should be able to bring back to them, and hopefully. Yeah, I agree that we have a little better working relationship now, and things have changed a little bit this year, or last year and this year, so I'd like to see us maybe move ahead with just the one at this point, but I don't foresee a big issue.
Seeing as that position is open, do we have anybody that would be volunteering or just be voluntold that they're on the library board? Mark, do you have any straws? No? You didn't bring the matchsticks? Oh, gosh. Well, it said that Councillor Hutchison, he does not want to be there. Mr. Thompson is saying that he doesn't want to be there.
There we got a volunteer.
Oh, oh.
I nominate Councillor Thompson to go sit on.
Don't like volunteer myself. I like somebody else to throw me up there.
Well, I'm throwing.
Try it if that's a wish of council, and work with the library board. Yeah.
Are we fine with that? And then along with Rob's, give us an opinion, Rob, some feedback within a couple of months or 3 months, you know, your ideas or vision of whether a third member, or sorry, the second member would be beneficial. Okay. And that would obviously be somebody from this side then that, you know. Yeah, yeah.
I do remind you that Bev Cutting was a member of the Durham Library Board before amalgamation, representing Glenelg.
Yeah, but Rob has volunteered.
Oh, yeah, yeah. We're getting ready for succession planning here, Bev. Okay. John?
That's fine if, yeah, and if Mr. Thompson runs into trouble, I'm sure myself or someone else can attend the meeting. So that's good that he's going to do that. But
Should be an alternate.
I can act as a backup.
So Councillor, Sir Deputy Mayor Bell will be the alternate?
Okay. All right, we can make those changes to the appointments. So everybody's clear, and Doug had some changes on the 150 committee. Okay. And the Dark Sky Committee as a committee of council, which it should have been. That was an oversight on our part. Any other comments on that? And Mark was looking for comments before we get down on bylaw number 3 is the Grey Highlands Public Library. We had talked about that at budget. And it is done by bylaw. That agreement, purchase of service, And there was a comment in there, I believe, Mark, on whether it was 2% or whether it was the cost of living. And in my discussions, when I was discussing it with Grey Highlands, I believe what we come up with was, whichever was lower was the one that it would be either the cost of living or the 2%. So if cost of living went to 5%, we were only going to be at 2. But if the cost of living was 1 point, and I think this year it's 1.85 or something, 1.8, whatever, it would be whichever was lower.
Just add that wording.
Yeah.
Lower. Okay.
And I forgot I should have got a hold of you on Friday when you were in to discuss that, but
I'll make that change then.
over the weekend, that was my recollection. I went through my notes when we had that discussion with Grey Highlands, and we're willing to look that up. Okay? Any other discussions on that part? And then the next one, Mark, on your report, number 3, is the proposed close and sale of the municipal road allowance, unopened road allowance.
Yes, this is a unopened road allowance that council has indicated they'd be willing to sell to an abutting property owner, potentially. In order to sell it, it has to be declared as surplus, and then if it's declared as surplus, I will have to give notice in a paid newspaper that is paid circulation for 3 consecutive weeks. So I'd be looking for a motion to declare it as surplus.
Okay, so we'll need a motion, so if we can have somebody move and second that one. Yeah. Okay. So I have a motion moved by John A. Bell, seconded by Rob Thompson. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby declares land as surplus to the needs of the municipality, described as lots 49 and 50, Concession 2, WGR, Parts 1 to 3, Plan 16R 10808, former Township of Bentinck, Municipality of West Grey. Any further questions or comments on this motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? So that's carried. Okay, Mark. There we go with that one. Now the next one comes into play. As we'd said earlier in the meeting, we accepted the resignation letter from Don V. Marshall as a councillor with the municipality. The legislation is pretty prescriptive as to how the municipality can address this issue. So, Mark, do you want any further comment?
Yes, so you're looking at appointing an individual, and that can be done through, for instance, you could look at the councillor positions that were the candidates from the last election, and you could decide to pick the next in line, so to speak. You could advertise the position as being available and request, letters of interest, and then thirdly, you can just basically appoint an individual outright, any qualified individual being a ratepayer in West Grey. The other option would be a by-election, which would be almost equivalent to a regular municipal election, shorter time frames, but same kind of process in terms of voters list, in terms of facilities being utilized for people who come to vote, numerous staff to appoint and work the election. Be probably looking at a paper ballot because I'm not prepared at this stage to run internet and telephone voting. whereas I will be by the 2018 municipal elections. So that's certainly a lot more complicated and costly option than the appointment process.
Okay. Councillor Lawrence. Carol?
Just my personal thoughts on this. I would very much like to see us ask for applications rather than go to the last election. Things change in 2 years, and those that ran in the last election, if they're interested still, they could apply, along with a letter of interest and some background. And I think we should open it up that way, and then I believe that it should be decided by council as a whole, perhaps short list and interview, or if there's not a whole lot, you interview everybody, and then we as a council make a decision on whom to appoint, possibly by secret ballot. I believe we could do that. If we're voting on, let's say 5, 4. Yeah, because, the reason I don't know if you can, but the reason I say that is whomever got it and whoever voted for them or didn't vote for them, it could make it a little difficult, to work with them. So I think a secret ballot by council, if we can do it. I'm not sure we can under the legislation, but I would like to see it, though, opened up, ask for applications, and as I say, those that ran in the last election, are free to put in an application.
Absolutely. Okay, further comments? John? Deputy Mayor Bell?
Yeah, I would concur with that assessment, Mr. Mayor, recognizing I think that's the most open, if you want to use the word transparent, everybody likes to use that word these days to get that done. But I'm not in favor of an election. Having an election, I think, is too costly to the municipality, recognizing it will be for less than a 2-year term. If we can get this done, if the person was ready to start the 1st of March, perhaps, whether that's too ambitious, I don't know, but I think a 2-week process where we open it up and we can decide after that, but in no way do I want an election. So I think that's the correct way to do it also. And if we can do the secret ballot thing, I don't have a problem with that either. So we can have a discussion and let's move on and get somebody in place.
Just for clarification, the legislation's very clear. We've got to make a decision today on it, and it's got to be filled. Mark, I think there is a
60
description.
days, isn't it?
Mark.
You don't actually have to make a decision today, but what I would, if that is direction of council, I think I would maybe bring a little more information back at the Monday council meeting, just to provide those kind of time frames and timelines and the process in more detail. Not knowing the option, I didn't present that in greater detail at this time. But we do have time. It doesn't have to be decided on what option right away. What had to be done today is to declare, basically accept the resignation and declare the seat as vacant.
Yeah,
And
okay.
could I ask, we have 60 days from the time it's declared, haven't we? A vacant till someone's appointed? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, that was the point. It's 60 days that there is. You can't let it draw out for
No.
6 months. There is a time. Rob?
Just one
Councillor
question
Thompson.
for my own. With Carol's suggestion, does that limit the persons that ran in the last election to only have that councillor status, or does it allow someone that ran for the mayor's seat or the deputy mayor's seat, or is it just strictly, it could be anyone?
Well, anyone could apply, but it's for a councillor's position.
Just for a council position, so it could be anybody at whatever they ran in that last election.
Okay.
Still qualified to be an elector.
Yeah. Doug?
Yeah, I'd be in favor of the advertising process, basically because the cost of running an election, I don't think that's something we want to get into at this point, but yeah, so the advertising applications would be fair, I think.
Bev?
I think it's a great opportunity for anybody who is interested in running for council in the next term to really try it out, get their feet wet. Plus, it's an opportunity for council to have somebody that's got 2 years under their belt and hopefully, maybe get elected next time and have that experience, because it's always a 2, 3, 4 year learning curve for council. So this is a really good opportunity for somebody who is interested in committing to council and doing council work, is to have this precursor to hopefully a 4-year term.
Okay. Do we want to entertain a motion for Mark to bring back, because I think the consensus is to have an open application for the councillor position that Councillor Marshall has departed from. Have an open application and bring a report back at the next council meeting, which would be a week from today, on what that's going to look like. Okay? I think that gives Mark the, yeah. So do I have a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Lawrence and Deputy Mayor Bell would move that the clerk bring back what it's going to look like to have an open application process for the vacated council position. Deputy Mayor Bell. Okay, so I have a motion moved by Councillor Lawrence, seconded by Deputy Mayor Bell, that Mark bring back for next council meeting a open application process. Okay? Any further comments on the motion? All those, call the question, all those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Okay. Yeah. Okay, anything additional, Mark?
Seeing that there are so many volunteers for the West Grade Library, Public Library Board, now that, again, the council's formally accepted the resignation of Don Marshall, I would look to council direction. It would be probably appropriate to rescind Councillor Marshall, or Don Marshall's appointment to the West Grade Committee of Adjustment. But actually, we don't need any other representatives, but I would just seek a direct motion to be passed to approve bylaw number 5 of 2017 to rescind the appointment of Don Marshall in that committee.
And in saying that, the individual, whoever the successful applicant or may be, then we would have to change the bylaw and appoint them because it is a committee of the whole, right? Yeah. So it'll be a paper process here. Councillor Lawrence, you had a comment? Yeah, no, go ahead.
Mark, I was filling out my book, actually, dates, and I noticed on the Committee of the Whole, February 27th is the same time as OGRA. So I'm wondering if we couldn't have that on the 20th as opposed to the 27th. OGRA you've got here is from the 26th to March the 1st. So rather than scheduling a, as I said, Committee of the Whole there, if we could have it the week before.
So February 20th, that would be before council, correct?
Yes, it would. We have a council meeting at night,
Yeah.
which we've done before. Committee of the Whole on the same day and council at night. I mean, it's kind of silly to have it because there will be some of you not here.
I know that I'm attending OGRA, and I don't
Well, I think
know,
Bev is too, aren't you?
And that's Family Day, the 20th, so I wouldn't be available. I'd be involved in a bunch of different things.
that was right. Was Family Day on the 20th.
It's not a holiday here, though.
Oh, no, it's not. I just,
I don't have that one.
Well, there's going to
Hutchison.
be more away at OGRA than there will be for Family
Family
Day.
Day, exactly.
Isn't committee whole on the 13th? Oh, no, that's the planning committee whole. Sorry.
No, planning's on the 13th, February. So Councillor Lawrence is putting forward a motion to move the Committee of the Whole from the 27th to the 20th of February.
I have it on the, I
Go
have
ahead.
a February 6th committee of the whole. Or, sorry, March 6th committee of the whole. Is that the one? I don't have one.
No,
Actually, don't have it actually written down in
March,
February.
that's council.
Yeah, I have both council and committee of the whole. I don't have it, I don't have one in February at all.
Committee of the
So it's March 6th, not
Yeah, but that's-
February
that's-
27th. That was,
Yeah, but that could be budget.
right.
Yeah, we did
Because we call it-
change, there is no committee meeting on February 27th. That was changed, and it's going to be immediately after the March 6th council meeting. That's
Immediately after March.
the March 6th council
So then we're
meeting.
not doing.
March
There is no
6th,
February
okay.
27th.
And then no March 27th either.
That's,
Right, yeah. 27th would be out, and we went to
No,
March 6th.
no, I still have 27th.
no,
Well, it is.
there is no February
Oh, we got rid of that.
27th committee meeting.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
okay.
was out.
Okay.
In lieu of that, it's the March 6th, immediately after council.
27th on there for committee of the whole?
So we'll have 2 in March, yes.
Yep. But this is March 6th, so we'll have 2 in that month.
2 in March, none in
Okay.
February.
All right, thank you.
The week
And there was just on, I don't know if you've changed these, Mark, but there was a couple of things here. Did you
Is
get
gone.
that changed? Okay.
Oh, March, yes, yeah. Okay,
Missed that for some
yeah,
reason. I guess because I put in March 6th, I didn't put in the 27th
Okay.
of March.
Yeah,
All right.
That's what we're having it too.
Any other questions for Mark? Nope. Larry, we'll go down to the clerk, or the CEO deputy clerk's report.
Yes, sir. Thank
You
you
want,
for,
hold on, Ms. Cutting? We've been here for a couple of hours, so, yeah, there's a few of us. I noticed that you stepped out for a little bit, so now council wants to step out for just a second.
minute.
Okay, all right, we'll take a... Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order again. Larry, CEO, has a comment or information here on the caretaker's position at Lamlash Hall.
that's correct, Your Worship. We did advertise for a new caretaker last fall. 3 parties indicated that they were interested in it. We did interviews. I discussed the matter with the Lamlash Hall Chair, Mr. Heipel, and with people in the office. And out of that, it was decided I've offered the position and been accepted to Miss Rebecca Becker, and she commenced her duties on January the 1st of 2017.
Very good. And I don't think that there's any secrets. The Becker is a common name in Bentinck Township, but Rebecca lives close by the hall as well too, so she'll be readily available for any calls for service and help there as well. So look forward to a fruitful partnership with Rebecca looking after Lamlash. Okay, any other questions? Second one then is, must be that time of the year, is it? That this is another retirement that we see coming forward? Harold McKnight? It's been hinted at for
Mr.
quite a while.
McKnight hinted at it for quite a while and then finally dropped a letter off advising that his effective date for his retirement would be May 31st of 2017. I asked our neighbors what they currently did. They all contract out, and Mr. McKnight has a couple of options as well. But I look forward to council's input on how they wish to proceed. Would a contract with a firm or an individual work, or would you prefer to have an employee, much the same as we've had with Mr. McKnight in the past? I look for your input and direction, Your Worship.
Any thoughts on this, other than Deputy Mayor Bell? John?
No, I don't really think we need an employee as per se. I would think I would follow Larry's advice on this, and he's consulted with the neighbors, and I'm sure that they'll come up with some good ideas. That drainage supervisor position is highly, shall we say, specialized. Finding someone with Harold's qualifications would be very, very tough to have on staff, I think. So for all of the municipal ditches that we do have, I would think that, Larry, your direction, I think, is quite correct on that, and as we need somebody, we can contract them out, so.
Okay, any other comments? Thoughts on that? Would we be as restrictive just to look at, kind of the 3 Grey County municipalities around us, or Brockton, Minto, You know, we've got a few other ones that are close by. One of the reasons I'm thinking of Minto is that most of our municipal drains are, and we just finished a joint partnership there with Minto, and our municipal drains are predominantly in the bottom end of Normanby, and most of them drain into Minto, so it may be something to look at there as well, too. Carol, do you have a comment?
Well, no, just for clarification, what John was mentioning, when you're saying contract out, you mean contract with one of these other municipalities, or have somebody on contract with us? Was Harold actually an employee? I thought he was on contract. Yeah, he was a contract. He wasn't an employee. So are you suggesting the same if we find somebody, or contracting with another municipality who has one on staff?
No, I say contract with another municipality, unless we can find somebody in the intermediary, but unless we can find somebody, but those people aren't real easy to get a hold of. So, and as Mayor has just said, somebody that goes this way, I think, would be maybe more beneficial than the other way, but that's just what I'm thinking. We did, as the Mayor just said, yes, we just had one with Minto, and I think the arrangement went very good. So I think they even use a lot of the same people that we have in the past. Is that right, Mr. CAO?
That would be correct. I would refrain from contacting Brockton, as they will be in the same position as we will, as Harold was the drainage superintendent in Brockton as well, and I believe he was an employee there. So we can look into it and see who, I know who they used to use, but I will follow up. I do have some connections there.
Okay. All right. And Larry, you wanted, the next one on here was for council's information on the Economic Development Officer.
That's correct. As you know, Meredith Bowers, now, last name is Flowers? Meredith has moved to be the Economic Development Officer in Perth County. The new ECDev officer with County of Grey is Savannah Myers, and I did meet with Savannah, and she's very interested in working with us. Savannah, as you may recall, was the Economic Development Officer for Hanover. She's quite familiar with the operations that the lower tiers do, and would like to build a relationship more closely with the lower tiers in the municipality. And as a matter of fact, one of the first things they're going to do is they're going to be participating in our job fair that's coming up. So we look forward to working with them. They've also reached out to us in regards to success stories for West Grey that they can include in their monthly economic development bulletin. And for this case, they specifically asked for the firm out of Neustadt. Gemini, thank you very much. And Gemini is working with them to get something together for their next batch. But I do believe, based on the comments this morning, that we may have another success story that we could point them in that direction too. Perhaps who might still be sitting in the audience.
Very good. No, there's a fair bit of excitement at the county level with Savannah joining the staff, and there has been a reorg there as well too, and Steve Furness bringing his expertise along as well. I think it's going to be very beneficial, and they're certainly looking for partners, and you might as well be the first asked to be asked to the dance instead of the last. Okay. Look forward to that. Look forward to working with the chair of the West Grey Economic Development Committee heavily on that. Rob. Doug, comments?
Yeah, so I'm curious on this. Is this sort of saying that instead of looking at maybe hiring an economic development staff member ourselves, that we'd be looking at doing something from the county level? Is that where you see this going, Larry, or what do you think?
No, what I'm looking for is a closer connection with the county economic development. So when they're rolling out their programs, it's considered that they would involve the lower tiers a little more closely than they have in the past. And that's more where I'm going with this. I do have a report forthcoming to an upcoming meeting in regards to something with economic development. So but no, not to have them be our economic development officer. You would still retain that service here.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Larry? Any other?
Worship, but I am welcome to, or open to any questions, should council have any additional questions for me.
Any other questions for Larry at this time? Okay. Then let us move on to bylaws. Mark, or the next thing. I believe we have 4 bylaws on the agenda this morning, and then we have a direct motion as well too, which will be a bylaw appointment. Very good. The first bylaw of 2017, moved by Rob Thompson, seconded by Doug Hutchison. Be it resolved that bylaw number 1, 2017, being a bylaw to remove the holding H symbol on lands described as Lot 4, Plan 502, east of Kincardine Street, former town of Durham, 579575, Ontario Limited, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, deputy clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions or comments on this motion? Call the question, and all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right. Ooh, just one at a time, Mark. The second bylaw is the appointment to various committees. I have a motion moved by Bev Cutting, seconded by Carol Lawrence. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2, 2017, being a bylaw to appoint officials and citizens to various committees, be now read a first, second, and third time, as amended, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, deputy clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Mark, do you want to make any other comments on the amendment, other than those ones that we made through your report? That was the amended part for everybody's clarification out there. Okay. Carol?
But is Rob being added to this? Yes, okay.
Yeah, with, and further, the Councillor Thompson and an alternate.
An alternate?
Yeah, we will put John down as an alternate. All right. Any other comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. We got enough time. Number 3 is a contract between Grey Highlands for Public Library access, library services. I have a motion moved by Rob Thompson, seconded by John A. Bell. Be it resolved that bylaw number 3, 2017, being a bylaw to enter into a contract for library services between the Grey Highlands Public Library Board and the West Grey Public Library Board, Municipality of West Grey, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed as amended and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, deputy clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. And the part on the amendment there was just clarification on the increase per year. Carol?
That's what I was going to ask. So it's been, the words have been added, whichever is lower?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. And bylaw number 4 is the confirming bylaw. It's moved by Bev Cutting, second by Carol Lawrence. Be it resolved that bylaw number 4, 2017, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, deputy clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any questions on this motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. There we are. Mark, that's it. So that brings us down to new business. Is there any new business? Councillor Lawrence.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to request that we place an ad advertising for members for the Newstead Recreation Advisory Committee. I've talked to Tom about this. It hasn't gone past the committee, but we're down to 5. We've lost Dawn now, Zettler, and we lost Delta. So we're down to, I'm sorry, we have one more now because Rio just went
Rio
on this
Mancini.
morning. But I think we need a broader scope, and there's people out there, like we're really happy to have Rio on. He's involved in soccer, and that, we need a broader scope, people that having different interests. And I'd like to advertise for members for the rec advisory, same way, give us, their name and maybe their interest. And then perhaps those could go to the rec committee just to make a recommendation back to council. That's usually recommendations come in from the various committees as to members.
Appointments.
Yeah. So I think, we need some young lakes too, and some of the fundraising has gone by the wayside because people are burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
Like for instance, our strawberry supper.
Strawberry supper.
And, Brenda does a fantastic job on the craft show, and that's the big money maker, but she's going to get tired too, because it's a whole year's work, that periodically.
Yep, keep everybody updated and knowing who's booked in. I would accept that, and I think we could do that as a direct motion. Although I'm wondering, on that, do we limit it just to the Newstead? Is there any other committees? Are there any other committees of council that we have that some people have gone off? Well, that are comfortable out there, that are not in the position that Newstead are. I'm not.
Like Durham, I think, I'm just looking at rec, Durham's, I don't know, do you need, Ayton is really good.
Yeah, Ayton's good.
And Durham's good, and...
I'm wondering, Lamlash Hall Committee or,
Well, they're...
just to do that review, and if we are going to advertise.
Yeah. The only thing I'd
Obviously,
ask,
Newstead.
I was asking for specifically Newstead, because that'll hit people in the eye. If they see that whole list, I just don't know how.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't go with the whole list, but if there was one or two other ones out there, and I'm not aware, as I said, at this point in time, whether there is, but can't be say that I know everyone. Larry?
I believe the Canada 150 added a couple new members and detracted one member, did they not, Doug?
Yeah,
okay.
today, so,
Right.
that committee's in. Doug?
Our Frazzle Fest committee is just getting started, so we're looking for members there. So, you could put that out, but that's a bit of a short period. Like we're only a month and a bit away, month and a half away. So, but yeah, it's not a bad idea if there's other committees needing help.
But isn't the Frazzle Fest, that's a committee of BIA, it's not a committee of council.
Yeah. So, that's what I said, if there isn't any, there isn't any. But if we, restrict it just there, but take a look, and that's what I was wondering for your motion. If there is a couple of other committees that would request that we could include it, but I don't know of at this point in time, so it'll probably be just the one. Okay? Anything else on new business?
Question, I guess it's new business. I wonder what's happening to our electronic sign.
Same thing as,
What's happening to our electronic sign?
It's not turned on. Larry, give us an update, or?
Your Worship, I would have to check with Eunice. Eunice has been working directly with the supplier of that. The last I heard, they were having issues with it. There was water in it, and it was taken back to the shop for some repairs to be done. So I still see it out there, but perhaps there was some inside components that needed to be reviewed. We've been having issues with the sign for a period of time. They're fully cognizant of those issues and concerns that we have, and I know that Ms. Henning has been dealing directly with them on a number of those. It seems to work fine for a few days and then goes back to its old habits. So that's why they I think the motherboard also needed to be replaced on it, if I'm correct, so.
So they're standing behind it then? It's not at a cost to West Gray?
I believe we're over the 1 year, but this started well within the 1
I
year.
was just gonna
so
say, the problems
We will
have been-
definitely have some strong words, depending on what they find, so. For the life of me, I don't understand why this particular sign, there's a number of them out there, and I've been watching them. They seem to have no issues with them, including the recent ones that they put up. They gave us a couple names of a couple of the recent ones they put up, and they seem to be working fine, so hope we didn't get one of those lemons, but we want it fixed, so.
Yes, Miss Henning is, I can say, step back if you're going to ask about the sign when you're around Miss Henning. It does create some heat when she's around. One other part of new business, as we accepted Councillor Marshall's resignation today, the seat is empty, obviously. Is there any appetite for council to reconfigure our seating arrangements so Adam can get a better focus on us out there? Or
I want to sit beside Mark.
now's your time to publicly express that, Councillor Cutting. Okay. Is that long enough now? It was something I just, it's there. If we're comfortable, I've got no problem, whoever would be our successful, that they would take that seat. Is that?
Might be a good place for them anyway, right beside Mark, seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So he needs some guidance and help.
Should we let Mark decide?
You can put your,
What do I like?
here. Yeah, just to keep them in focus. Okay. All right. That was my only comment, and I know that, it's there. So if council's fine with it, I think Adam can still get us, get everybody in there with that small gap for a short period of time that it will be. And I do, to your point, Carol, Bev, would be a good seat for a new person coming on. Addendums? Notice of motion or direct motion. Mark, you had one? And now there's the second one that Councillor Lawrence had. The bylaw on
Rescinding the appointment.
rescinding Don on the Committee of Adjustment, and then the one for the motion to advertise. Okay, I'll need a 2/3 majority to introduce. All those in favor of introducing? That is met. Mark, you can hand those two motions out.
What's the bylaw with it?
There's the bylaw with the motion, which is to take former Councillor Marshall off of the committee. Yeah, you were supposed to. Okay, the first one is a bylaw, and as Mark has indicated in his report, because of the way the West Grey Committee of the Adjustment is structured now to meet provincial policy and legislation, they're appointed by bylaw, so we'll have to remove Councillor Marshall, former Councillor Marshall, from that. So I have a motion moved by John A. Bell, seconded by Doug Hutchison. Be it resolved that bylaw number 5, 2017, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 90, 2016, being a bylaw to appoint officials to the Municipality of West Grey Committee of Adjustment, be now read a first, second, and third time, passed and numbered, and that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the CEO, deputy clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and be engrossed in the bylaw book. Any comments on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right. The second motion. Oh, okay, yep. Is have the motion moved by Carol Lawrence, seconded by Bev Cutting. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of West Grey hereby directs staff to place a newsstand advertisement. That's what I said, newspaper advertisement and notice on the West Grey website seeking interested individuals to be appointed to the Newstead Recreation Advisory Committee. Any comments on this motion? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Closed session. I don't believe there is any. Question period. We've wore out everybody in the audience, except Adam, still behind the camera there, and he never has a question. He's always good. Municipal Act notices, we have none. So we're down to number 20, which is adjournment. Councillor Hutchison moves that we adjourn. I'll accept that motion. We stand adjourned until next Monday, when we'll have our next council meeting, unless we have a call. Aye.